What is going on? It is time to jump into an episode of the RR Show with me, Vince. We have got sort of a grab bag episode, but kind of a spooky, creepy, weird sandwich, shall we call it. We're going to do Tales from the Front Desk first, and then r/TIFU, the subreddit that keeps on giving, and then we're going to wrap up with r/ghosts. So let's get started right now. Our first story is posted by user CallRoll under the subreddit Tales from the Front Desk. The time we housed a psychopath. All right, so first-time poster, but I just got to share this because it's been the one story I share with people whenever they ask me about the craziest things I've ever seen working in the field. Been in hotels for around 3 to 4 years now, mainly as an auditor. So the first hotel I got in also happened to be the largest and oldest in my hometown. And for the outside viewer or guest, it probably seemed like a paradise. It had around 120 plus rooms, a pool area, sauna, gym, all that jazz. It was kind of fancy, so to speak. Only just kinda though. One day, we house a male guest. 30-ish something years old. Looks like a businessman. Well-spoken, seems very calm and polite. Generally doesn't appear to be the kind to cause trouble over nothing. It's an extended stay, around 7 to 8 days for the most part. The stay goes well. He pays his 7 to 8 days and doesn't really have any complaints. Even compliments for the staff and the luxuries the hotel offers. Cool dude, right? So the stay goes by and it's the day he's supposed to check out. It so happens to be an important holiday here in my country as well. And since the hotel was kind of like a resort, we were fully booked by a group of people that wanted to use the pool area, etc., to throw a small party, so to speak. So it was bound to be a busy day. I was working the front desk at the time, morning shift, and our star guest comes by. I expect him to hand me the keys so I can check him out, but instead he comes over and says something along the lines of, "Sorry, I know I'm supposed to leave today, but I'll actually have to stay the holiday due to work." Now, he did not ask us prior if we would have a vacancy for the holiday. He simply assumed that we would. I politely tell him that unfortunately we are fully booked, and that at the moment there is no possibility to extend his stay. The moment I explain that to him, his demeanor switches. Now he's questioning what exactly I mean, that, we can't kick him out, and that he demands that we cancel another booking so that we can keep him there. Obviously, there's no way I can do that, so I tell him he can use the hotel area for the day if necessary, and that if someone cancels, we'll let him know. But he, who's pretty worked up at this point, simply goes, "No, it's fine. I'll pack my stuff and leave right now." He storms back to his room, and I'm just standing there, just thinking, well, never judge a book by its cover, I guess. Little did I know that would be the understatement of the century. After about 20 minutes or so, he comes back, slams the key on the counter, and says goodbye, and leaves in a hurry. Now, he had already paid me, so I don't really care. I was just glad this guy was leaving. So I got back to my work, but after about 5 minutes, I hear one of the housekeepers scream from the corridor. I'm startled and run over to see what's going on, and so do some of the other housekeepers. She's standing by the room that same guest was in, freaking out. And when I go to look inside, the mattress is on fire. One of the housekeepers quickly goes to get the fire extinguisher, and we deal with the situation. After the literal smoke clears, We also realized that this absolute maniac also took the time to smear his crap all over the walls before running off. To this day, I don't know if he ever faced any repercussions for what he did, but that day I learned a valuable lesson I still carry with me to this day. Guests can be terrifying. Our second story comes from user extra-rate8552 from r/TIFU. TIFU by staying in touch with my psych ward friend. A few months ago, I was in the youth psych ward due to depression. I met a girl who would always listen and be super nice to me, but also tell me some unsettling things like having abused animals in her childhood, being able to turn her empathy off, wanting to kill her parents, and stuff like that. I was bored and suicidal, thrilled by this unique friendship, and thinking nothing of it since we were locked in anyway. However, soon after my release, she successfully contested her court order and was discharged against medical advice. We continued to text after that. I realized I was the only person she could confide in and felt bad for her. She would tell me about how bad she was driving and about her suicidal thoughts. Until one day, she sent a voicemail telling me she was planning a whole rampage to kill all the people that had wronged her. Alarmed, I went to the police, who, after questioning me, paid her a visit. They called me and said they didn't think she was a danger at all and was probably just angry when saying that. Naturally, she concluded that it was me who betrayed her, but I tried my best to convince her it had probably been my parents who checked my phone and reported it, and she at least pretended to believe me. Fast forward to today, I suddenly noticed a photo she had sent without any context. When I clicked on it, my jaw dropped. It showed her posing with a bloody hands and face, a lighter in her hand, and a burning stove in the background. I concluded the worst and went to the police as soon as possible. After further questioning, they told me they had already known about it and that she had caused a decent fire in an apartment block and smashed some windows after a fight with her parents. Fortunately, no one besides her was hurt. They thanked me for providing them with further proof and told me she would probably go back to the psych ward. When I left the interview room, I honestly couldn't believe my eyes when I saw her sitting in the hallway looking at the floor. Our gaze met, and I think we were equally shocked before I quickly walked away. I feel like I'm in deep trouble. Eventually, she'll be released again, and there's no denying now that I snitched on her. I have no trust in the judicial system's judgment anymore. The policeman told me she might be in danger to me, but she'll be locked up for a while now, and if the smallest thing happens, I can just call 911. This is your sign to not stay in touch with the suspect psych ward friend, because that story might not end well. But I hope mine does. Our final story comes from r/ghosts. My childhood paranormal story. Neighbor's friend didn't want anyone near her. So this might be a bit long, but it happened to me when I was 6 or 7 living in Massachusetts. Back then, my family and I lived in a basement under this family and their 2 kids. Like I said, I was around 6 or 7 at this time, and this family had a daughter that was probably 4 or 5, and another that was maybe 10. Now, the 5-year-old was a strange little girl from the very moment you met her. Let's call her Amy. Amy was quiet and wide-eyed and would just kind of stare through you every time you talked to her, and she would not like to have company from anyone, not even her mother. One day, my mom came to me asking me to play more with Amy because she was so alone and had no friends at all. Since I didn't know anything at the time, I was just like, whatever, and went upstairs to play with her. Once I got there, I was just kind of hanging out in her living room watching cartoons while she sat there. Her sister then comes into the room and asks me if I really came to play with Amy. I say yes, but she didn't give me the attention, so I was just going to watch TV. Her sister then turns to me and says something like, "Good. Don't interact with her much. She's not right." I didn't really think much of it at the time, and the day kind of ended with nothing more happening. A couple of days later, I go up to play with Amy again. My mom told me to. And after a few minutes, Amy turns to me and says, "You need to leave. She doesn't like it when I play with you," while constantly shifting her eyes from me to the windows. I don't remember exactly what happened because it was years ago, but I remember feeling super queasy at the time and very uncomfortable. So I went back home and told my mom what happened. My mom was a very Christian woman, and so was Amy's mom. When I told her this, she immediately got very worried and told me not to go back there. Apparently, Amy's mom had already told my mom that Amy always mentioned a friend that would tell her what to do and what to say, like an imaginary friend. I didn't really have much more contact with Amy alone after this, but I did learn what comes next as an adult by talking to my mom about it. After Amy said I couldn't play with her anymore, my mom and her mom went to talk to Amy to understand what was wrong and why she didn't want to play with me. That's when Amy first described her friend in detail. Apparently, she said her friend would yell at her and make her do bad things if she didn't obey her. She described her friend as a young girl, a bit older than her, with dirt on her face and under her nails, and wearing a dirty old white dress. Her friend also had very bad teeth, according to Amy. As she was telling this, my mom says Amy started crying and screaming while staring at the window to "Get out of here. I'm not going to follow you. Mom, make her stop. She wants me to follow her out the window. Please get out of here." Her friend also had very bad teeth, according to Amy. As she was telling this, my mom says Amy started crying and screaming while staring at the window. "Get out of here. I'm not going to follow you. Mom, make her stop. She wants me to follow her out the window. Please get her out of here. I don't like her. She's getting angry." Our mothers immediately took her out of the house, and we all went to stay at church. Amy said the girl would come crawling on the ceiling and up the walls at night to her room and tell her to do bad things like swear to her sister, beat her parents, not brush her teeth. She didn't and had cavities all over her teeth. And even things like grab a knife or jump out her window. A few days later, they all went into Amy's room. My mom, her mom, Amy, and a pastor from her church to try to, exercise whatever was there. My mom says at first Amy was crying while this happened and begging them to stop. Then she started laughing and saying they were weak and sinners and things like that. And eventually Amy just kind of passed out sleeping. I'm not sure what happened next. We moved out of the house. I never saw Amy again. What I do know is that my mom says the pastor went to her house several more times, and Amy also went to a psychologist and a psychiatrist. I didn't see most of this happening other than her telling me not to play with her and the super weird vibes from being near her. I remember very vividly that whenever she got into the room, you could feel the mood change and get heavier, even to a 7-year-old. Anyways, that's my story. I have no pictures or anything like that, but I still get goosebumps just thinking about Amy. She was a very, very, very creepy little girl. Sorry if I don't know all the details. I was very young back then, and most of what I know today is from asking my parents. Edit. Just to be clear, her mom was a very nice person who really worried about her daughter. She took her to church, but also took her to get mental help at the same time. So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince, and we'll see you next time here on The RR Show.